What's going on, guys, and welcome back to #AskGSM episode 245 here today for August 8th, 2018. Hope you guys are doing well. If you haven't already, check out last week's episode with the illustrious Alexis. We had a great time answering your questions from Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. She had a great time too. I appreciate all the positive feedback on the socials. She will be back here on the show at some point down the road. But as for today's episode, guys, you can send in your questions by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the #AskGSM. You can find me on Facebook as well at facebook.com/gram.gsm.matthews. Drop your question on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, be sure to drop your question down below on this very video in the comments section. I'll include your question in next week's edition. So with all that being said, let's get started here. First question from RJ Marceau from text. Didn't Facebook it to me. He didn't tweet it to me. Didn't even put it in the comments in this very video, or last week's video, I should say. He texted it to me this morning, so shout out to RJ, Mr. Marceau. But his question was, do you think Zelina Vega will become a more prominent member of the SmackDown Women's Division, or is she just wrestling due to the feud with Lana and Rusev? I think it could be a bit of both. I think that she's just wrestling right now because of the feud with Lana and Rusev and the whole mixed tag team match that is likely in the works for SummerSlam, which I'm looking forward to. But I also think that their matches, Vega facing Lana last week and this week, could have been a test to see how she would do. Now, I'm sure they know that she has wrestling experience. She wrestled for a while in TNA. She wrestled not on NXT, but on NXT house shows. So we never saw her compete, I don't think anyway. No, actually, no, she did have a match. She had a match, I think, on the last time we ever saw her in NXT. I think she faced Candice LeRae, if I'm not mistaken. I completely forgot about that until just now. So yeah, they know that she can go. She's not like a Charlotte or a fucking Becky Lynch in the ring, but she is very good. A lot better than Lana. That being said, the matches with Lana weren't very good. I think that has less to do with Zelina and more to do with Lana, just because Lana fucking sucks. She has gotten better, not saying much, but she has gotten better. Vega, I think, is good, and hopefully at some point she will be more of a prominent member of that women's division. Maybe just not right now. There's kind of a lot going on right now with Carmella and Charlotte and Becky. You also have Naomi there, who we haven't seen in a while. You have Absolution, Asuka, who's been off TV now for like 2 weeks. So maybe not right now. Maybe at some point down the road, I'd be totally fine with Vega entering the SmackDown Women's Championship picture. For right now, I think it's fine just to have her with Andrade, focus on him, and do the whole thing with Lana and Rusev. But I would not be surprised at any point if they entered her into the Women's Championship scene on SmackDown down the road. Joe M. from YouTube, his first question was, obviously Drew McIntyre is destined for big things on his own, and when he eventually breaks away from Dolph Ziggler, in the long term, do you see him having more potential as a babyface or as a heel? That's a great question. I also think that McIntyre has a very high ceiling in WWE. The guy's got the look. I think he can talk. I think he can go in the ring. The guy really checks off every box that you would want him to be a top star in this company. The company loves him. A lot of fans like him in terms of like seeing his potential. He's a heel right now, so he's not being cheered every single week. But McIntyre's great. Quite honestly, he's doing great work as a heel right now because he's more aggressive. But we kind of saw a similar side of him, a similar aggressive side to him in NXT as a babyface. And quite honestly, what do I see him being in the long term, like as a bigger star? Like with Seth Rollins, the guy was an amazing heel, but really his long-term ceiling, really long-term, he was going to be a better babyface, which it took a while to get to that point, but he's finally there now, and the guy's fucking firing in all cylinders. I would say the same for Drew McIntyre. The guy was a great babyface in NXT, as well as in Impact and other companies before he came back to WWE last year. As a heel, he'll be a great heel, too, don't get me wrong. I mean, he had his, great work as a heel when he first showed up in WWE many, many years ago, but I thought even then, what if they turned him face? What if they actually ran with him as a face for a while? And they did that with NXT, and they gave him a shot, and he fucking flourished. So I know he's doing great work as a heel right now, but I think long-term, the bigger picture, he's going to be a better top babyface than he will be as a heel. Joe's second question, in NXT, they all appear to be in the wrong place at the wrong time at the moment, with teams with more star power than above them. than those that above them, whatever. But on the main roster, will the Mighty, the Street Profits, and Heavy Machinery get the chance to shine and become tag team champions, or will they be used as comedy acts and enhancement talent? Good question. The Mighty have fucking no chance of succeeding on the main roster. And I like the Mighty. I like Team 6-1. Zero chance. They're getting lost in the shuffle as it is right now in NXT. I can only imagine what the fuck would happen with these guys on Raw or SmackDown. They're very good in the ring. They just don't have a lot of personality as a team. They would be swallowed up whole. And the state of tag team wrestling just isn't all that great to begin with on Raw and SmackDown. These guys would not become champions. Not in a fucking second when you still have teams like the Usos, the New Day, the Revival, and a lot of the other teams they have on both brands. No chance for them. 50-50 on Heavy Machinery. I think they could get over because they're a fun act. Their matches aren't always amazing, but they are a fun act. I could see them getting over, so maybe. Honestly, I think of all the three teams that you mentioned, I think the Street Profits have the best possible chance of being tag team champions. I can see Heavy Machinery being more of a comedy act in the main roster, unfortunately. The Street Profits, and I talked about this a while ago in an article, I think for Hidden Remote, that the Street Profits could be what Enzo and Cass should have been for the main roster, where they have a super overact, they're very likable, their matches aren't always 5 stars, but together they're great, very entertaining, they can easily get over with the audience if given the opportunity. Now, Enzo and Cass were given that opportunity at first before being put in awful situations where they lost constantly, never became tag team champions, were put in terrible feuds with fucking Gallows and Anderson and Rusev and Lana with each other. I do think the Street Profits, if they stay the course with them, they could be that new perennial tag team like the New Age Outlaws where they can be over with the audience and hopefully win tag team gold. Crime Time was kind of like, that's, I know, kind of like, oh, stereotypical, both black teams and they're, very alike. Not really. Crime Time was a lot more stereotypical than the Street Profits are. But they were another team that was super over and a lot like the Street Profits where they were very entertaining but never given the chance to run as tag team champions. The Street Profits, I hope, have a higher ceiling and they could be used better if given the opportunity. Joe's third question here. What is/was the best year of John Cena's career? Based on how good his feuds were, how good his matches were, how good his promos were, and most importantly, how much you enjoyed him overall. That's a great question with a very, very, very easy answer. 2015. It's got to be 2015. John Cena in 2015 was fucking awesome with the US Open stuff. The feud with Rusev exceeded expectations. It dragged on a little longer than it should have, mind you. But, let's look at this real quick. So, 2015 John Cena, the guy's had a lot of good years. Obviously, there's been other years where he won more world titles and shit, but, his feuds bored me to tears, and his promos weren't that memorable. He was cutting great promos every fucking week in 2015. Before every US Open challenge, the guy was cutting great promos, and then going on to have great matches. And he helped put over a lot of people, too. So, again, real quickly, in a bottle, 2015 for John Cena. Kicked off the year in that match of the year candidate, if not the match of the year on the main roster for WWE, with Brock Lesnar, Rollins, and Cena at the Rumble. So there you go right there. From there, he had the matches with Rusev, which were pretty good. Won the United States Championship at WrestleMania. Had great matches in the months that followed with Wade Barrett, Dean Ambrose, Stardust, Neville. They had a couple great matches. And on pay-per-view, he faced Kevin Owens. They had 3 fucking match of the year candidates at Elimination Chamber, Money in the Bank, and Battleground. Had another amazing match with Seth Rollins at SummerSlam. They had a very good match in Night of Champions. And then he put over Del Rio at Hell in a Cell, the returning Del Rio, and what was a good match at that show before leaving for the remainder of the year. So I got to go 2015. And here's another quick side story for you. I don't know if I've told this here on the show before, and I just talked about it just recently with Alexis, actually, not here on the show. I think it was just another conversation we had. But anyway, in 2015, coming off of the U.S. Challenge stuff, the U.S. Open Challenge, I loved the U.S. Open so much, and I was a big fan of what Cena was doing at that point. I almost considered myself a fan of John Cena. I know, completely crazy, but I almost did. Not that that's a bad thing, but I've never really been the biggest John Cena fan ever, for obvious reasons. But I loved him so much at that point and what he was doing as U.S. champion. I came so close to buying that shirt that he was wearing at the time that said the champ is here, that pointed down with a picture of the U.S. championship around where his waist would be. I like that shirt a lot, and I almost bought it. I think I wrote about it on Facebook, on my Facebook page, like, oh, if John Cena wins, if he doesn't drop the championship at the next pay-per-view, I'll buy the t-shirt. And he won, but I didn't buy the t-shirt. In retrospect, I probably would have never worn it out anywhere, but I liked the shirt, and I liked what Cena was doing at that point, and I wanted to support the guy with what he was doing, but I never ended up buying the shirt, but I was oh so close to buying my first and only John Cena shirt, and since then, that was 3 years ago. Surprise, surprise, I still do not own a John Cena shirt. Brandon A. from YouTube, top 3 matches of the week. Number 1 has got to be the New Day versus The Bar from last night's SmackDown. That match was excellent. A great fucking match between those two teams. From 205 Live last night as well, Itami versus Ali. Mustafa Ali versus Hideo Itami. Very good match in the main event. Great action and a great story told. And then finally from this week's episode of Ring of Honor TV from Monday. I watched it on Monday, but it airs tonight technically on whatever channel the show airs on nowadays. Comet or whatever the fuck it is. A 3-way tag team match between the Bullet Clubs, the Young Bucks, and Adam Page. SoCal Uncensored and Los Ingobernables de Japón. I know that's how you not pronounce it at all. De Japón, I think that's how you pronounce it. I don't know. Who the fuck cares? But yeah, they had a great match, a very, very good match in the main event of that week's show. So those are my top 3 matches of the week. Honorable mention goes out to Candice LeRae versus Shayna Baszler. I thought that was a great match too from last week's episode of NXT. Brandon's second question, speaking of Los Ingobernables de Japón, his question was, my favorite wrestler in the world right now, even including WWE, is Tetsuya Naito. I love his entire gimmick and just how over he is. I'm an even bigger fan of his Los Ingobernables de Japón faction, more so than the Bullet Club or any current WWE faction. He is so over that the Japanese crowd gives an American-style chant with his entrance of Naito, Naito, Naito. This is significant because Japanese fans don't really chant ever during entrances and rarely chant during matches. They may get loud and lively for a match, but it's seldom that they actually chant. Not even Omega, Okada, or Tanahashi get those type of reactions, though. They are all popular as well. I know you don't follow New Japan Pro Wrestling much, which means you probably don't know much about Tetsuya Naito. My guess is that you would very much be a fan of his if you did follow New Japan, which leads to my question. What are some wrestlers who you wish you could follow more if you had the time? Inversely, as I only watch WWE, New Japan, and only the first season of Lucha Underground, who would you recommend from other promotions and indies for me to watch and follow if I had the time? So for me, really New Japan is probably the biggest promotion I don't watch on a regular basis. So just speaking strictly from New Japan, if I followed it, who would I be a fan of? I'd throw Naito in there. Yeah, from what I've seen of Naito, like the match with Jericho recently for the Intercontinental Championship and the match with Okada from Wrestle Kingdom earlier this year, I like Naito a lot as well. Again, I wouldn't consider myself a fan of his just because I barely watch the product. I would throw Omega on there too. I mean, I love Omega. The guy's amazing. I've seen enough of him in Ring of Honor and New Japan matches where I'm already kind of a fan of his, even though I don't regularly follow the product. But Omega. But Juice Robinson too, the former CJ Parker, which I never thought I would say because I was never a fan of his at all in NXT. I was actually happy when he left. Not because, the guy's out of a job, but the guy wasn't doing jack shit in NXT. He was the go-to jobber of the brand. And he left on his own accord. He left on his own terms. Went to New Japan because he wanted to get better. And 3 years later, the guy is one of the biggest stars they have in that promotion. Maybe not the guy, obviously, but he's their current U.S. champion. He's a very good wrestler. And from what I've seen of him on like Twitter and his promos and stuff, the guy is fucking great. Like a lot better than he used to be years ago. So definitely Juice Robinson on that list as well. For you, for people that I would recommend that you check out or that you would be a fan of if you had the time from the other promotions that you don't watch. You said you watched the first season of Lucha, so you're probably already aware of you are aware of these guys. You asked me a question including their names a couple weeks ago, but Pentagon Jr., Mil Muertes, you may have liked them in the first season. They've gotten even better in the seasons that followed. I love Pentagon. I love Mil Muertes. Also from Lucha and also from Impact, you obviously definitely know who he is. But Sami Callihan has been killing it since he left WWE a few years ago. And I enjoyed him in NXT as Solomon Crow, but it was obvious that he was not going to get above a certain level with so many other stars there. So he left. Another guy like Juice Robinson who left and went on to become a big star in Impact and Lucha Underground. I've really been enjoying his work in the last couple of years. So from those two promotions, also from Impact, Eli Drake. He's really, really good. The guy's a good wrestler, but more so on the mic, the guy's a fucking star. He is so good. Reminds me so much of The Rock, it's ridiculous. And he's not the next Rock or anything, but the guy is very underappreciated. Now, I know he had a run as Impact World Champion for a while, late last year, early this year. But, I don't know, I still feel like a lot of people sleep on Eli Drake. That's how good the guy is. Yeah, dummy, yeah. And then finally, another guy you obviously know who he is, but you said you don't watch Ring of Honor, so I'll throw his name in here. Jay Lethal. Jay Lethal is the guy right now in Ring of Honor. Cody's great. He's like, one of the faces of Ring of Honor as well. But Jay Lethal goes in there and delivers great matches each and every single week. Got to go with Jay Lethal as well. Emmanuel A. from YouTube. Not really a question, but he did want to point this out in response to what Alexis and I said last week here on the show. But he had said, I know this is not a wrestling-related comment or whatever, but I just felt the need to say something about SpongeBob. To clarify, what you were talking about in regards to a writer leaving, it was in fact the series creator himself, Steven Hillenburg, who left after the first movie. However, you might be interested to know that he actually did come back to co-write the second movie and has even stayed to help run the show again since. Now, I don't know if you or Alexis have the time or interest for this, but I actually think you two should give the modern SpongeBob another chance someday. There's a season 10 episode called Mimic Madness that's about SpongeBob impersonating everyone that's really good, particularly for showcasing the range of SpongeBob's voice actor. And I'd say a nice example of how the show is able to still get creative after all these years. I recommend giving that at least that episode a shot if you're ever willing to watch the show again. Also, I realized I got carried away and wrote a lengthy paragraph about SpongeBob SquarePants without even attaching a question to the whole thing, so let me ask a few simple questions to make up for it. But before I even get to his questions, I did not know that, obviously, otherwise I would have said that here in the show last week, so thank you for pointing that out. I did not know the series creator came back for the second movie. I don't know, the series, or the second movie, I didn't watch it, so I can't really criticize it just based on how it looked on previews and what I saw. It looked like fucking shit. From some people I heard it was good. Maybe that's why. Maybe just on paper it looks shit because the show's been shit now for like 10 years. I'll have to check out the show. Maybe they're online somewhere. I'll check out that episode and see, give my 2 cents on it to see if it's up to par with nothing's going to get better than Season 1 or Season 2 or Season 3. Those were like the golden years of SpongeBob before the movie in 2004, I think it was. But yeah, I'll give it another shot. I won't watch it regularly, but I'll check out some episodes and see if it has indeed gotten better, because there were some episodes they were putting out there for years on end, and it was just fucking stupid. The show was like dumb. It was literally about nothing. Now I know Seinfeld was about nothing too, tongue-in-cheek, but like this show is about fucking nothing because they ran out of ideas. So I'll check out the show and see if it's any better than it used to be. Anyway, Emmanuel's couple questions here. First one being, do you have any interest in WWE 2K19? I do. I always get the games. I never really have enough time to play them. I think I played the most recent one, 2K18, than any other game in the last 5 years, just because I liked it a lot and I liked the story mode, whatever. I had a lot of fun with it. I haven't played it in months, unfortunately. I just don't have the time right now. I never really had the time, but I will get the game. AJ being on the cover is great. Ronda Rousey's in the game. The Hardy Boys. Hopefully Adam Cole, baby. Maybe even Ricochet. The roster now is as good as it's ever been. So to see those guys in the game would be fucking awesome, and play as them too. So yeah, I'm definitely getting 2K19 when it comes out. Keep or erase Daniel Bryan and The Miz? That's a great question. They're both phenomenal. How can you erase Daniel Bryan, though? I love The Miz, but Daniel Bryan is like one of the best wrestlers in the world of the last 10, 15 years. So it's got to be Daniel Bryan. You got to keep Bryan and erase The Miz. Push repackage release. AJ Styles, Tommaso Ciampa, and Brock Lesnar. So all 3 current champions from Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. Got to release Brock. I know in the past I've said, why would you leave or release Brock? The guy's one of their biggest stars. The guy's on his way out anyway. There's really not much more you can do with the Brock Lesnar character. Release Brock Lesnar. So with Ciampa and Styles, it's really interchangeable because both guys are doing great work right now. Tommaso Ciampa, his character, I think overall is a bit better than AJ's just because Ciampa is such the perfect heel and I would not change a damn thing about it. So push Ciampa to the main roster, I guess, and repackage Styles. And what? I don't know. The guy's the fucking WWE champion. How much more can you repackage him? Maybe by turning him heel, but I think the guy's a great babyface, so I don't know. But I'd repackage AJ, whatever that means. Push Ciampa and release Lesnar. Jeremy B. from Facebook, thoughts on the B team's new theme? I think it's good, a lot more fitting for their characters. The last theme they had was great. It was a great song, but it didn't fit with the B team. So I think this is a better song for them. It's a waste of the old theme song because I thought it was great. But anyway, I think it's good. I'm not a fan of the B team being Raw Tag Team Champions, but whatever. Jeremy's second question, do you agree that the Miz versus Bryan feud right now is the best feud on the main roster and nothing comes close to topping it? Yes, I agree. I mean, I like Styles and Joe. I like Orton and Hardy and Nakamura by default. But I like more so Miz and Bryan. I think that's the best feud going. They have a lot of history, great chemistry. Nothing on Raw even comes close. I've been liking the Bliss and Ronda stuff. And Rollins and McIntyre and Ziggler, the matches have been good. The feud is kind of wearing thin by this point. Nothing else on Raw comes close to what SmackDown's doing right now. Miz and Bryan, though, is the top feud, in my opinion, on SmackDown. The match should be great. The feud's been awesome so far. So easily the best feud in WWE right now. I mean, in NXT, it would have to be Gargano Ciampa, but speaking strictly main roster, like you said, Jeremy, it would absolutely be Miz and Bryan. Addie T from Facebook, is Brock Lesnar really a draw anymore? Yeah, he's still a draw. Maybe not as much as he was a couple of years ago when he first came back, and it's like, oh, he's fresh off of UFC, he's such a big star. People still know Brock Lesnar. People still like Brock Lesnar, casually speaking, casual fans. They'll still watch a show for Brock Lesnar. He's not the mega draw that he used to be. Like, having Lesnar on Raw is not bringing the ratings that it used to. Or it doesn't, like, pop. The rating doesn't go up significantly like it used to when Brock Lesnar was on the show. Now it's like, even though it's rare that he's on the show, it doesn't change all that much. Especially now that people are like, with Brock, it's like, okay, who really cares what he's doing? Because his current feud with Roman Reigns is fucking awful TV. It's not must-see TV in the slightest. But yeah, he's still a draw. I think it would be ridiculous to say that he's anything but a draw, but just maybe not as big of a draw as he used to be, at least with WWE. At Reborn Again, John Ritland from the YouTube machine. I've said it every single time he sent in a question, but check out his YouTube show, Real Honesty with John Ritland. Does great stuff. His first question was, do you think the Evolution pay-per-view could possibly lead to a weekly all-women show for underutilized women, or would that just highlight how badly some of them are used by creative? I mean, it could. It could. I think it's a good idea. Selfishly speaking, I don't want any more shows. I think we have enough shows as it is. We have the Mae Young Classic coming up. We have so many fucking shows with this company. I'm good with what we have. But if they want to add a women's show, that's fine, because I think they can make it work. I would expect, like you said, to a debut after Evolution to see if it does well or not. If the Evolution pay-per-view doesn't do well, and I don't know why it wouldn't, then they wouldn't do the show. There's no interest there. But I think there is enough interest to justify doing an all-women show. Now, it would have to be from all three brands, including NXT. I mean, you can do it from just Raw and SmackDown, but I think it gives you more variety if it includes NXT as well. I'm not sure how that would work, if it would be taped like 205 Live. You know, at this fucking point, the women are more notable names, will get a bigger reaction after SmackDown than the Cruiserweights will, because the Cruiserweights aren't on Raw anymore. So why don't you just fucking tape their shit from NXT? That's what I don't understand. Like, tape it out of Full Sail like NXT. Like, you can get away with the taping schedule now for 205 Live because the 205 Live guys aren't going back between Raw and 205 Live anymore. But anyway, so if that was to happen, I would put 205 Live, tape it on Wednesdays, or tape it from Full Sail, air it on Wednesdays. You can call it 205 Live. Who the fuck can possibly care? It doesn't matter. But I would put the women's show after SmackDown, or 205 Live, or before SmackDown, whatever. Because I think more people would be more excited to see that than they would a Cruiserweight show. And the Cruiserweight 205 Live is great, but I think people would have more of an incentive to stick around if it's Charlotte as opposed to Drew Gulak. Okay, but that's just me. But anyway, just to answer your question, I think it would be a good idea. There are a lot of underutilized women from, like, you know, Asuka's, I mean, she's been focused on, but, like, the Iconics are barely on TV, and when they are, they fucking lose all the time. And they're not really developed all that well in terms of characters. But anyway, yeah, no, I think it'd be a good idea, and I think it would be a good time to do it right after Evolution, but only time will tell. His second question, could a blowaway SummerSlam show change the usual fall season lull for WWE, or are we doomed to deal with the lazy TV for most of the rest of the year? Yeah, I mean, but you know, the thing is that a great SummerSlam you would think would launch a great fall season, but that's not always the case. It's not. I want to believe that's the case. It really has very little to do with SummerSlam, because SummerSlam last year sucked, and the fall season wasn't terrible. It was because we had like the Shield come back, so it wasn't bad. I think the summer season wasn't as hot as it could have been. This summer season is not nearly as hot as it could be. SmackDown's great. Raw's in the fucking doldrums right now. But case in point, go back to 2013. We had one of the best SummerSlam shows of all time. We had Bryan and Cena, Punk and Lesnar, Del Rio Christian. Amazing SummerSlam show with one of the best endings in SummerSlam history when Triple H went heel, Orton went heel, and they cost Daniel Bryan the championship, okay? Great ending. 2 weeks later, Raw was back to being fucking bullshit. No one cared anymore. It was Daniel Bryan versus The Authority every fucking week, and it was so bad because Daniel Bryan would almost always lose. That was terrible. 2014, same thing. Great SummerSlam show. In the fall, it was atrocious to watch. It was bad. That was when we had like the Bellas feud and all this other garbage with John Cena and Randy Orton again. So just because we get a great SummerSlam does not mean the fall season's going to be great. It's all a matter of whether they want to put forth the effort or not. I don't think they will, because years past dictates that they won't. If they don't care about writing good Raws now, what makes you think they're going to be driven to write good Raws later this year in the fall? When football starts, they basically roll over and die. At least with Raw, because Raw goes head-to-head with football. SmackDown, they might actually try. SmackDown a couple years ago was fucking awesome in the winter or in the fall. That was when they really started to get going. So we'll see about Raw. I don't have high hopes, but case in point that just because we have a great SummerSlam, if it ends up being a great show, it will not necessarily mean that the fall season is going to be must-see. And his third question here: will you be watching All In, and do you think it could change how smaller promotions do their own big shows in the future? So with All In, I absolutely want to watch. That's not even a question. I would absolutely want to watch. What the fuck am I saying? It's more a matter of whether I can watch. That's what I was trying to get at there. It's airing on a Saturday, I think. Yeah, September 1st is a Saturday. I usually work on Saturday nights, and I got to take the next couple of Saturdays off for a few different things, so it's not like I can always work in the morning, but I'll probably be working at night, so I don't think that's going to happen. So I'll probably just watch it the next day or later on when I get home, unfortunately. So I don't think I'll be watching it live. But All In can change everything. I mean, it already really has, because we already know the thing is sold out. Oh, okay, 500 tickets are on the fucking, online, still being sold for. But beyond that, it's still already in good hands. They sold a lot of tickets. There's a lot of interest around this thing. The biggest non-WWE show, I would say, in years and years and years. So yeah, if All In does well on pay-per-view and on Fight TV and all this other stuff, then smaller promotions might be able to get similar deals on pay-per-view and on Fight TV and stuff like that. So yeah, the success of All In really determines a lot moving forward. Already it's a success because of how many tickets it sold. But if there's just as much interest in people buying the show on Fight and on pay-per-view, then that could change a lot for non-WWE shows moving forward. And final three questions from Matt Scarlet 1. First one being, don't know if you've read any of the arguments over Rousey and Fox on Raw, but it was a great showcase for Rousey, or was it a great showcase for Rousey as a natural badass, or exposure for how utterly unsafe she is? I've been seeing some divide on whether Rousey came off as dangerous for right or wrong reasons. I didn't get that vibe at all. I think Alicia Fox sucks, and you might be thinking to yourself, what does it have to do with anything? But she can't sell for shit. She can't fucking wrestle. Alicia Fox is terrible. I loved how they were playing her up as like an icon in the women's division. I mean, all ironically, of course, on Raw this week. But she's been around for 10 years. And of course, granted, she was better than Rosa Mendez. But Alicia Fox is so bad. She's so bad that she has digressed in the last 10 years. If that's even a fucking word. She's gotten worse in the time that she's been with the company. But anyway, I didn't get that vibe at all. Maybe it was just because of the way that Fox sold for Rousey that made people think that, oh, she's so unsafe. Well, she can't, she's going to kill someone one of these days. I didn't get that vibe at all. But I liked it. I thought Ronda killing Fox was very entertaining. Not literally killing her, but, figuratively with the offense that she got in on Fox. Could have lasted shorter even than it was, because Fox as a threat to Rousey is laughable. With that being said, Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was a good showcase for Rousey. I did not see it as unsafe. I'd have to rewatch it. I don't think Fox was hurt. I didn't see that same. I mean, I didn't watch Raw live this week, so it's different. But I didn't see anyone say on any of the things that I follow, "Oh, Rousey was so unsafe. She should have been safer in there." I didn't see that at all. So I don't know what show people are watching, but I thought it was a fine showcase for Rousey, and I think she's doing just fine. Is the women's division in WWE counting all brands in a good, bad, or decent place? I would say decent, if not good. I like the NXT women's division a lot. That might be the best women's division they have right now because Shayna Baszler plays the role of badass heel bully champion to perfection. So definitely NXT takes the cake, and they also have Candice LeRae, Bianca Belair, Nikki Cross for now, I guess. Dakota Kai, Lacey Evans, Vanessa Bourne, Kairi Sane, I think I already said her. A lot of great women on the rise over there. So NXT's women's division is killing it week to week. Raw is good. They have Alexa and Ronda doing their thing, which is, again, one of the more compelling stories on Raw right now. That's good. The Bayley Banks stuff, I lost interest in months ago, but they're both really good. And at least they have a story. At least they have something going on there. On SmackDown, it's really all about the women's championship picture right now. The Iconics are losers. Absolution aren't really on TV all that much. Naomi's rarely on TV nowadays. And Asuka's on and off. And she's also she means a lot less than what she used to. But, the stuff with Charlotte and Becky's compelling. Carmella sucks, but she's at least doing something interesting right now with Becky and Charlotte. So I think overall, the good outweighs the bad. The roster is as good as it's ever been. But in terms of booking, I would say it's in a decent place. And finally, how long should Tommaso Ciampa be NXT champion for? I think I talked about this a week or two ago. But I don't know. Obviously, he should retain in Brooklyn. I think it'd be fucking blowing your load too fast if they had Gargano win the championship in Brooklyn after Ciampa won it literally 3 weeks ago. But yeah, I would have Ciampa hold on to it until at least... Personally, I would say Mania weekend to do a rematch between Gargano and Ciampa. I don't know if they can hold off that long, so maybe not. Maybe Rumble weekend, if not War Games. I mean, I guess you could do War Games and blow it off there and have Gargano. Gargano has got to be the one to beat Ciampa for that belt. He just has to be. That's the story they're going for here. That's what they have to do. It's more a matter of when, though, than if. I think War Games might be the best just because I think the main roster wants like Ciampa and Gargano right now. But the main roster doesn't need those guys right now because they shouldn't be on 205 Live. And I don't think there's really a place for them at the moment on Raw or SmackDown. So I think I'm fond of them staying in NXT for a little while longer. I would say have them lose it I would do a WrestleMania weekend because unless they can come up with something better with like Gargano versus Ricochet or Ciampa versus Ricochet, or Matt Riddle or Keith Lee versus Gargano or Ciampa, then I would just have it be Gargano and Ciampa 3 1-on-1 over Mania weekend. But Rumble weekend or War Games weekend, Survivor Series weekend, those are all fine choices too. And that does it, guys, for episode 245 of #AskGSM here today. Thank you for your support of the show. I thoroughly appreciate it. We will be back next week, as always, with another episode. If you want to send in a question to the show, be sure to tweet me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the #AskGSM. You can find me on the Facebook page as well at facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews. Leave a comment on the post. I usually put them on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section. I'll include your question in next week's edition. So be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, subscribe to the channel for more content. All that is greatly appreciated. Stay tuned for WrestleRant radio excerpts tomorrow right here on the channel, as well as my review of Season 1, Episode 3 of Ms. and Mrs. on Friday. So until then, guys, have a great rest of your week. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.